Hello and welcome to another episode of Political Talk. I'm Hugo Pellegrino, and today I'm going to be talking about Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the current president of Ukraine. As always, thank you very much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, we do have English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Ukrainian subtitles.
Volodymyr Alexandrovich Zelenskyy, Ukrainian. Born the 25th of January 1978, commonly transliterated as Zelenskyy, is a Ukrainian politician, former actor and comedian, who is the sixth and incumbent president of Ukraine. Zelenskyy grew up as a native Russian speaker in Kryvyi, a major city of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast in central Ukraine. Prior to his acting career, he obtained a degree in law from the Kyiv National Economic University. He then pursued comedy and created the production company Kvartal 95, which produced films, cartoons, and TV shows including the TV series Servant of the People, in which Zelenskyy played the role of the Ukrainian president. The series aired from 2015 to 2019 and was immensely popular. A political party bearing the same name as the television show was created in March 2018 by employees of Kvartal 95. Zelenskyy announced his candidacy in the 2019 Ukrainian presidential election on the evening of the 31st of December 2018, alongside the New Year's Eve address of then-President Petro Poroshenko on the TV channel 1+1. A political outsider, he had already become one of the front-runners in opinion polls for the election. He won the election with 73.23% of the vote in the second round, defeating Poroshenko. He has positioned himself as an anti-establishment and anti-corruption figure. As president, Zelenskyy has been a proponent of e-government and unity between the Ukrainian and Russian-speaking parts of the country's population. Communication style heavily uses social media, particularly Instagram, and his party won a landslide victory in a snap legislative election held shortly after his inauguration as president. During his administration, Zelenskyy oversaw the lifting of legal immunity for members of the Verkhovna Rada, the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent economic recession, and some progress in tackling corruption in Ukraine. Zelenskyy promised to end Ukraine's protracted conflict with Russia as part of his presidential campaign, and has attempted to engage in dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Zelenskyy's administration faced an escalation of tensions with Russia in 2021, culminating in the launch of an ongoing full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022. Zelenskyy's strategy during the Russian military build-up was to calm the Ukrainian populace and assure the international community that Ukraine was not seeking to retaliate. He initially distanced himself from warnings of an imminent war, while also calling for security guarantees and military support from NATO to withstand the threat. After the start of the invasion, Zelenskyy declared martial law across Ukraine and a general mobilization of the armed forces. His leadership during the crisis has won him widespread international admiration, and he has been described as a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. At age 17, he joined his local team competing in the KVN comedy competition team. He was soon invited to join the United Ukrainian team Zaporizhia Kryvyi Transit, which performed in the KVN's Major League and eventually won in 1997. That same year, he created and headed the Kvartal 95 team, which later transformed into the comedy outfit Kvartal 95. From 1998 to 2003, Kvartal 95 performed in the Major League and the highest open Ukrainian league of KVN. The team members spent a lot of the time in Moscow and constantly toured around post-Soviet countries. In 2003, Kvartal 95 started producing TV shows for the Ukrainian TV channel 1+1, and in 2005, the team moved to fellow Ukrainian TV channel Inter. In 2008, he starred in the feature film Love in the Big City, and its sequel, Love in the Big City 2. Zelenskyy continued his movie career with the film Office Romance, Our Time in 2011, and with Zivsky vs. Napoleon in 2012. Love in the Big City 3 was released in January 2014. Zelenskyy also played the leading role in the 2012 film Eight First Dates, and in sequels which were produced in 2015 and 2016. He recorded the voice of Paddington Bear in the Ukrainian dubbing of Paddington and Paddington 2. Zelenskyy was a member of the board and the general producer of the TV channel Inter from 2010 to 2012. In August 2014, Zelenskyy spoke out against the intention of the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture to ban Russian artists from Ukraine. Since 2015, Ukraine has banned Russian artists and other Russian works of culture from entering Ukraine. In 2018, the romantic comedy Love in the Big City 2 starring Zelenskyy was banned in Ukraine, after the Ukrainian media had reported that during the war in Donbas Zelenskyy's Kvartal 95 had donated 1 million hryvnias to the Ukrainian army. Some Russian politicians and artists petitioned for a ban on his works in Russia. Once again, Zelenskyy spoke out against the intention of the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture to ban Russian artists from Ukraine. In 2015, Zelenskyy became the star of the television series Servant of the People, where he played the role of the President of Ukraine. In the series, Zelenskyy's character was a high school history teacher in his 30s who won the presidential election after a viral video showed him ranting against government corruption in Ukraine. The comedy series Svati, in which Zelenskyy appeared, was banned in Ukraine in 2017, but unbanned in March 2019. Zelenskyy worked mostly in Russian-language productions. His first role in the Ukrainian language was the romantic comedy I, You, He, She, which appeared on the screens of Ukraine in December 2018. The first version of the script was written in Ukrainian, but was translated into Russian for the Lithuanian actress Aine Grudit. Later, the movie was dubbed into Ukrainian.
If you need a break, you can always grab a glass of water, pause the video, and go to my Patreon. The link is down below.
Zelenskyy was inaugurated on the 20th of May 2019. Various foreign officials attended the ceremony in Ukraine's parliament. Zelenskyy is the first Jewish president. With Volodymyr Groysman as prime minister, Ukraine became the first country other than Israel to have a Jewish head of state and head of government. In his inaugural address, Zelenskyy dissolved the then Ukrainian parliament and called for early parliamentary elections. One of Zelenskyy's coalition partners, the People's Front, opposed the move and withdrew from the ruling coalition. On the 28th of May, Zelenskyy restored the Ukrainian citizenship of Mikhail Saakashvili. Zelenskyy's first major proposal to change the electoral system from a plurality voting system to proportional representation with closed party lists was strongly rejected by the Ukrainian parliament, due to the belief that closed lists would lead to more corruption in government. In addition, on the 6th of June, lawmakers refused to include Zelenskyy's key initiative on reintroducing criminal liability for illegal enrichment in the parliament's agenda, and instead included a similar bill proposed by a group of deputies. In June 2019 it was announced that the president's third major initiative, which seeks to remove immunity from lawmakers, diplomats and judges, would be submitted after the July 2019 Ukrainian parliamentary election. This initiative was completed on the 3rd of September, when the new parliament passed a bill stripping lawmakers of legal immunity, delivering Zelenskyy a legislative victory by fulfilling one of his key campaign promises. On the 8th of July, Zelenskyy ordered the cancellation of the annual Kyiv Independence Day parade on Maidan Zarajnosti, citing costs. Despite this, Zelenskyy highlighted that the day would honor heroes on Independence Day, however the format will be new. He also proposed to spend the money that would have been used to finance the parade on veterans. In 2020, Zelenskyy's party proposed reforms to Ukraine's media laws with the intent to increase competition and loosen the dominance of Ukrainian oligarchs on television and radio broadcasters. Critics said it risked increasing media censorship in Ukraine because its clause of criminal responsibility for the distribution of disinformation could be abused. Zelenskyy was criticized for a secret trip to Oman in January 2020 that was not published on his official schedule and on which he appeared to mix a personal holiday with government business. Although the president's office said the trip had been paid for by Zelenskyy himself and not with government money, Zelenskyy came under heavy criticism for the lack of transparency around the trip, which was compared unfavorably to a secret vacation his predecessor Petro Poroshenko took in the Maldives, and which Zelenskyy himself had criticized at the time. In January 2021, Parliament passed a bill updating and reforming Ukraine's referendum laws, which Ukraine's constitutional court had declared unconstitutional in 2018. Fixing the referendum law had been one of Zelenskyy's campaign promises. In April 2021, in response to Russian military build-up at the Ukrainian borders, Zelenskyy spoke to American President Joe Biden and urged NATO members to speed up Ukraine's request for membership. On the 26th of November 2021, Zelenskyy accused Russia and Ukrainian oligarch Rinat Akhmetov of backing a plan to overthrow his government. Russia denied any involvement in a coup plot, and Akhmetov said in a statement that the information made public by Volodymyr Zelenskyy about attempts to draw me into some kind of coup is an absolute lie. I am outraged by the spread of this lie, no matter what the president's motives are. In December 2021, Zelenskyy called for preemptive action against Russia. On the 19th of January 2022, Zelenskyy said in a video message that the country's citizens should not panic and appealed to the media to be methods of mass information and not mass hysteria. On the 28th of January, Zelenskyy called on the West not to create a panic in his country over a potential Russian invasion, adding that constant warnings of an imminent threat of invasion are putting the economy of Ukraine at risk. Zelenskyy said that we do not see a bigger escalation than in early 2021 when Russia's military build-up started. Zelenskyy and US President Joe Biden disagreed on how imminent the threat was. On the 19th of February, as worries of a Russian invasion of Ukraine grew, Zelenskyy warned a security forum that Western nations should abandon their appeasement attitude toward Moscow. Ukraine has been granted security assurances in exchange for giving up the world's third-largest nuclear arsenal. We don't have any firearms. And there's no security. But we have a right to urge a transformation from an appeasement policy to one that ensures security and peace, he stated. In the early hours of the 24th of February, shortly before the start of the Russian invasion, Zelenskyy recorded an address to the citizens of both Ukraine and Russia. He refuted claims of the Russian government about the presence of neo-Nazis in the Ukrainian government and stated that he had no intention of attacking the Donbas region, while highlighting his personal connections to the area. In part of the address, He spoke in Russian to the people of Russia, appealing to them to pressure their leadership to prevent war. Who will suffer the most from this? People. Who does not want this more than anyone? People. Who can prevent this? People. Are these people present among you? I am sure there are. Public figures, journalists, musicians, actors, athletes, scientists, doctors, bloggers, stand-up comedians, TikTokers and many more. Regular people. Regular, normal people. Men, women, the elderly, children, fathers, and most importantly, mothers. Just like people in Ukraine. Just like the authorities in Ukraine, no matter how much they try to convince you otherwise. I know that they will not show this appeal of mine on Russian television. But the citizens of Russia must see it. They must know the truth. And the truth is that this needs to stop, before it is too late. And if the Russian leadership does not want to sit down at the table with us for the sake of peace, then perhaps they will sit down at the table with you. Do Russians want war? I would very much like to answer this question. But the answer depends only on you, the citizens of the Russian Federation. On the morning of the 24th of February, Putin announced that Russia was initiating a special military operation in the Donbas. Russian missiles struck a number of military targets in Ukraine, and Zelenskyy declared martial law. Zelenskyy also announced that diplomatic relations with Russia were being severed, effective immediately. Later in the day, he announced general mobilization. On the 25th of February, Zelenskyy said that despite Russia's claim that it was targeting only military sites, civilian sites were also being hit. In an early morning address that day, Zelenskyy said that his intelligence services had identified him as Russia's top target, but that he is staying in Kiev and his family will remain in the country. They want to destroy Ukraine politically by destroying the head of state, he said. In the early hours of the 26th of February, during the most significant assault by Russian troops on the capital of Kiev, the United States government and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged Zelenskyy to evacuate to a safer location, and both offered assistance for such an effort. Zelenskyy turned down both offers and opted to remain in Kiev with its defense forces, saying that the fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride. More than 90% of Ukrainians supported the actions of Zelenskyy, including more than 90% in western and central Ukraine and more than 80% in Russian-speaking regions in eastern and southern Ukraine. A Pew Research Center poll found that 72% of Americans had confidence in Zelenskyy's handling of international affairs. Zelenskyy has gained worldwide recognition as the wartime leader of Ukraine during the Russian invasion. Historian Andrew Roberts compared him to Winston Churchill. Harvard Political Review said that Zelenskyy has harnessed the power of social media to become history's first truly online wartime leader, bypassing traditional gatekeepers as he uses the internet to reach out to the people. He has been described as a national hero or a global hero by many commentators, including publications such as The Hill, Deutsche Welle, Der Spiegel and USA Today. BBC News and The Guardian have reported that his response to the invasion has received praise even from previous critics. During the invasion, Zelenskyy has been reportedly the target of more than a dozen assassination attempts. 3 were prevented due to tips from Russian FSB employees who opposed the invasion. 2 of those attempts were carried out by the Wagner Group, a Russian paramilitary force, and the 3rd by the Kadyrovites, the personal guard of Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov. Zelenskyy has been called by the Times of Israel the Jewish defender of Ukrainian democracy. Gallens Beekerman of The Atlantic described Zelenskyy as having the world a Jewish hero. On the 7th of March 2022, Czech President Miloš Zeman decided to award Zelenskyy with the highest state award of the Czech Republic, the Order of the White Lion, for his bravery and courage in the face of Russia's invasion. Zelenskyy has repeatedly called for direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying, "Good Lord, what do you want? Leave our land. If you don't want to leave now, sit down with me at the negotiating table. But not from 30 meters away, like with Macron and Scholz. I don't bite." Zelenskyy said he was 99.9% sure that Putin thought the Ukrainians would welcome the invading forces with flowers and smiles. Zelenskyy has made an effort to rally the governments of Western nations in an effort to isolate Russia. He has made numerous addresses to the legislatures of the EU, UK, Poland, Australia, Canada, US, Germany, Israel, Italy, and Japan, and is set to address the Netherlands, Romania and the Nordic countries. On the 27th of March 2022, Slovakia awarded Zelenskyy one of the country's top awards, the State Award of Alexander Dubček. Eduard Heger, the Slovak Prime Minister, compared the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022 to the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968.
Obviously, we still don't know how the war is gonna end. But I found it amazingly interesting to figure out that a former comedian and actor could become the president of one of the most conflicted regions on the planet at the moment. Thank you very much for watching today's video. If you have any doubts at all, you can always send me an email to hugo.elohate@gmail.com. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one. Bye.